Good morning, everyone. Lee Henson, president and founder of AgileDad, and welcome to today's edition of the Daily Standup. With no further ado, let's get started. I recently received an email where someone was asking the difference between, or why did I delineate the difference between, a review and a demo. So I thought we'd talk about the difference between those two, or at least the difference between those two through my eyes after many years of coaching, and see if we couldn't come to terms with why these two are different, what makes them different, and who the target audience is and what we should be doing. So for starters, I want to make sure I clarify, the Scrum Alliance lumps the review and demo into one meeting. And it is a meeting where stakeholders, interested parties, and others come to see the team show its wares. They get to see exactly what the team is prepared to present. They get to ask questions about that presentation. They get to get feedback, or the product owner gathers feedback based on the presentation and the comments and the questions that are asked. And then they get to explore how they're going to inspect and adapt based on the feedback that they receive. While it's great and all that information is good and all that information is perfectly helpful, I think that breaking this into two meetings has merit. So here's why. If we start with an internal review, where we allow the team to present their wares to the product owner for two purposes. One, just to make sure it meets all the acceptance criteria and that everything's been covered. And two, to make sure that it's something that's ready for the demo, something that's prepared, something that's polished, something that's going to leave a lasting impression on the people who are attending the demo. One discovery that we made is that a lot of times when things are finished during a sprint, they might meet the acceptance criteria, but you may hear the product owner say, yeah, that meets the acceptance criteria, but it's not exactly what I hoped for, or it's not what I wanted to show, or not what I was prepared to present. So I think it's important for us to really zoom in and focus on, not only is it, meeting the acceptance criteria, but is it ready for demo? You'd be surprised how many times things meet the acceptance criteria perfectly but aren't ready, or even better yet, sometimes you do things and it wasn't exactly what the product owner had in mind, but it's something that they certainly wouldn't mind showing to a select audience to see what their feedback is, to gauge interest, to just see how people react to certain things that are presented. Some of the best demos I've ever been to have been ones where the product owner has a well thought out plan for which features are going to be demoed, and they ensure that we have the right audience. Another great use for the internal demo is in the example where maybe you've just created a security model, or an architecture, or an infrastructure adjustment, or updates to an API or an SDK. And the audience who's going to be using this product or service is someone internal, and you don't necessarily have an external audience where you would do a formalized demo to. This would be a great opportunity for the team to practice their demo skills and to show, especially for some of the initial sprints, that part of the product or service that's relevant to that group. So for example, if I was showing a whole bunch of security features for the internal review, I may invite people from the security team, maybe some senior architects or team leads, anyone who might be interested in seeing that information so that they can review the information and make sure that, it is something that's in line with what we're trying to do. And it might not have any shiny keys or bells and whistles or something that the end consumer would even want to see, in which case it's not a good idea to invite the end consumer to the demo to see those features. In other words, the last position you want to be in is where you invite everyone in, especially all your external customers, and you break out the ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you paid for a whole seat, but you're only going to need the edge. Here's our database schema, or here's our security model. You're going to quickly discover that not only are they not interested, but they become jaded and they don't want to attend future demos because they feel like what you're presenting to them, they're like, yeah, that's not what I hope to see. And this also enforces the importance of making sure you have at least one would-like feature, one highly desirable, one pleaser in the Kano model in every sprint, because you want to make certain that you have something that you can show to those individuals and have them go, wow, even though it's something small, they are listening to me. And even though it's something that, I hope to see, it gives me something to hang on to, something to believe in, something to go back and say, yes, that's what I hope for, right? So I guess part one, the internal review should be a focus for the team to meet with the product owner, to review everything with the product owner to make sure A, it meets the acceptance criteria, and B, that it's ready for demo. But you could also include internal key people like security, infrastructure, architecture, whoever might be interested in seeing that internal solution. Because the truth is, not every stakeholder should be invited to every demo. Which leads me to part 2, which is the actual demo. The actual demo, it takes form and shape and different sizes based on who the target audience is. So I think the number one key critical piece here is for the product owner to really get their head around and understand who the target audience is for the demo. If the target audience is a group of individuals who are interested in seeing some key features that maybe they requested or some enhancements, then yeah, we want to make sure that those are the things that we're showcasing. If the target audience is internal executives for a product or service that's yet to be released, we need to key that demo in and make sure that it's targeted towards that audience. The last thing you want is to have a generic demo that you show to everyone. The other benefit is that I think too many people focus their attention on showing every feature every time. And I don't know that that's necessary. In my opinion, I feel like the demo is more suited or better suited when team members and product owners and scrum masters get together and they understand who the target audience is and they cater the demo to show those features to that target audience. So I've seen times where the demo has lasted 15 minutes and shown 3 key features and really had engagement from the stakeholders, then consumers, and people got excited. And we allow more time for Q&A so that people could have clarification about those features and we can gather valuable info that would help us guide and steer the future of the product. I've had other times where it's more important for us to have more of a science fair model. Maybe it's a brand new release, the release 9.1.4 of a particular product suite, where you have multiple features and multiple products that are, all getting an update or a facelift, if you will. In which case, maybe more of a science fair type demo, or a World Bazaar where you have tables set up around the outside of the room, where people can go and see the features that are specific to their needs that they want to see. But then for the actual, Q&A part at the end, we reduce that to a smaller amount of time and allow people to have structured questions based on all the things they've seen around the room. By design, this is nice because then not every person needs to see every feature. I've been to that demo one too many times where the product owner has a long list and they start at the top and they say, the first item we'd like to review is backlog item number 978614, adjust the parameters. As an end user, I would like to adjust the parameters so I can achieve better end user satisfaction. Willie, come on up and show us what you got. You can soft golf clap. And then Willie comes in and says, okay, if you click the top of the column, it sorts by that column. Thank you. Our next guest is going to be Joanne. Oh my goodness. Who cares, right? I just want to see the things that are relevant, that are meaningful, that are going to really make a difference, that are going to have a large impact on what we're trying to do. There's so many times where we spend countless time, demoing features that don't necessarily need to be demoed or showing off things that, a small or very minute audience cares about. We want to make sure that we focus on the things that are most relevant and most meaningful to the people who are in attendance at the demo. By doing so, it helps us grow rapport with those people and build relationships of trust where they can ask sincere questions about the things that they have the most interest in. They can give us candid feedback, radical candid feedback that we'll take back with us so that we can inspect and adapt and improve the product or service that we're building. And I think most importantly, it helps us build relationships both with executive leadership and with the people who we're building the product for so that they have more confidence in the things that we're delivering, and it allows us to do better forecasting. So in my world, at the conclusion of a sprint, we have 3 separate meetings. We have the internal review, which we discussed, the demo, which we discussed, where the team gets to show off their wares and gets to gain that accountability for the things they built, the products or services that they built. And then finally, the retrospective, which we'll talk about at a future time because I want to make sure we allocate enough time to talk about that. So, I hope you enjoyed today's edition of the Daily Stand-Up. Lots of good information there. As always, we encourage you to comment, leave us some feedback. If you don't mind rating us some stars, that would be greatly appreciated as well. We love to collect those 5-star ratings. It really does make a difference to us, and we really appreciate you. So on behalf of the entire AgileDad team, we hope you have an amazing weekend, and we look forward to being with you again next week. Stay healthy, stay well, and most of all, stay agile. Take care.